Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday Excellence. I'm your host, Todd Baldwin, and today we have Dustin Feider, the owner of O2 Treehouse. How are you doing, Dustin?
Doing great. Doing great. Thanks, Todd.
Man, I'm excited to have you on. As we were talking about earlier, your industry is so interesting to me, what you do. So tell us a little bit about O2 Treehouse. I'm sure you could do a much better job at introducing your company than I ever could.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Thanks. Thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, so O2 Treehouse has been building custom tree houses, I would say for young and old, since 2006 when I started the company back in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we've been in a couple different places in California. Now we're located up here in Sonoma County, Petaluma. We have a 10,000 square foot workshop here, pretty much vertically integrated entirely. We do design, engineering, prefabrication here, and then installation of our unique, treehouse structures. More and more they're becoming stilted to accommodate some of the regulations and that kind of thing for hospitality. But yeah, we pride ourselves on creating very unique structures in difficult to reach places. Very modern, very sculptural creations. So that's O2 Treehouse.
It's so cool. So 2006, so 20th year this year, be celebrating 20 years.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. That I'm like, oh wow, it's a double decade number. We should do like a party or something. Like
It goes
wow.
back fast. Congratulations on 20 years. I'm a big believer that no business is an easy business. And one of my pet peeves is when another buddy or entrepreneur or someone will say, I wish I was in that business. That's an easy business. And if you're a business owner and an entrepreneur, there is no easy business, right?
Right. Totally.
It's usually a person that's not a business owner that says that. But
Right.
20 years in the business, like I said, congratulations. So let's rewind the clock. How did this idea even start?
Yeah, good question. So, you know, I went to school for furniture design and it was a very kind of one-off furniture and sculptural program at Minneapolis College of Art and Design. And I was really focused on the intersection of, humans and nature and kind of like what happened to really, begin separating where humans started to like, classify themselves kind of outside of the natural world and really exploring that, sculpturally. Um, then, this concept of building a treehouse came about through a conversation with my dad, actually, that just kind of like, sparked the idea. And so, I ended up exploring that kind of right before I graduated and afterwards. And, with my interest in sustainability at the time, the big buzzword, and, what that meant, sustainable materials and all the energy and, material, research and science coming out and focus on that. That this, building a tree house, especially building one that was intended to be lightweight and kind of like more with modern, manufacturing principles, was like a really interesting context to be working in, and also kind of spoke to all of these, questions around sustainability that were happening, in the marketplace in general. And although the things that we create, I'm not claiming that they're some kind of shining light in the way that humans should live sustainably, but they are this interesting intersection, and kind of commentary on living with the natural world. So
Okay. So where, like, what was the first tree house you built? Like,
yeah,
just
first treehouse
stop there. Yeah.
was
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about that.
yeah first one was a geodesic sphere treehouse. I was a big Buckminster Fuller fan. And he was always a huge inspiration, both in his, life's work and ambition, and also, the structures and geometries that he popularized. It just made a lot of sense as far as from the engineering perspective, basically trying to suspend something in the trees or between trees, the geodesic form and the equal distribution of tension compression within that form made it both like from a practical standpoint something that could be allow a lot of flexibility in terms of installing it in a tree and picking the various different joints that were best suited, for trajectories of cables to branches. So like that very like practical approach, and was also this like basically naturally derived and found in nature geometry that has just an entire universe of various different, ways to explore it through materials and the actual geometry of the structure. And so I approached that with like a very lightweight, I think it was like 2,000 pounds in total, of a 13-foot diameter structure. Basically had an interior tent. So it had like exterior structural geodesic with the interior tent. It was, I mean, once I put it up there, it was like, wow, look at it, it's a Japanese floating lantern in the tree. And just that image, just like really caught on to some blogs. Blogs was huge. Uh, and from there, I got a couple of articles. I got one in Popular Mechanics and Dwell, and I kind of caught the bug at that point and was just really interested in pursuing. I had other work and other job positions, that kind of thing, but was just pushing this concept and this business forward on the side until it became full time.
So that first tree house, was that for a client or was that just you? Hey, I've got this land. I can go build here. Let me go see what I can do. Or,
So yeah, that I ended up building that on my dad in my dad's front yard actually.
okay.
Because I was trying to pitch it. I had made a computer model and a physical model, and had taken it around to a couple YMCA camps in Wisconsin, where I'm from, and didn't have any luck. I was like, just fresh out of college, and that there's probably some risk. That I was seen as a big risk, case there. But yeah, I was passionate about seeing this prototype get full size prototype get created, and so on a shoestring budget, created that first one.
That is, yeah, no, that is such a great story. I had mentioned earlier, how much you and I were visiting about how I love to talk to entrepreneurs. And
Yeah.
that's a perfect example right there. Is because I love hearing their stories. And even though, I have a digital agency marketing or digital agency company, marketing agency, you build these high end tree houses. We're still business owners. So always find a lot of commonality just in that in itself. But that is a great, great story. What moment or when was it when you realized, hey, this is actually going to work? This is, this can be a full time job or a full time career.
So I had actually had partnered with this. Was 2006. I built the first one, and I think like 2000, late 2007, I had found this company. It was a nonprofit called Lift Kids, and it was out of Minnesota. And it was kind of when like Tom's had originally come out with like the buy one gets one thing, gives one. And so they had these programs. They're doing some interesting things with like partner villages in Northeast Africa, and so we were kind of planning this buy one gives one actually with this geodesics, pursuing the ecotourism industry, and that so we built a prototype, and then I took it around to trade shows, all along the West Coast. And so when I got down to the Los Angeles trade show, I ended up having a site visit from one of the leads in Beverly Hills. And that was very exciting to get what to me at the time was a huge project. It was two tree houses in a rope bridge in somebody's backyard in Beverly Hills. And at that point, I was like, "Oh wow, this is going somewhere." And out here, in California, Los Angeles, and so by the time I got out there and built that structure, um, I ended up getting the neighbor to buy some structures from me. There's only three people on that block, and I built a structure for each one of them. And one of them was Robbie Krieger from the Doors.
Really? That
Which
is
I was a
great.
huge Doors fan in college, so I was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh my god, this is, like, meant to be," you know?
That is a great story. The neighbor saw it and couldn't do without. So then the other neighbor's like, well, heck, I
By the
can't be the
time,
only
yeah,
one.
because it was like I had Robbie Krieger kind of pinned from each side, and I was, so, I think Robbie ended up needing some help moving a piece of furniture. And so, one of the clients was like, "Hey, Dustin's around." Like, so I cruised over there and helped him, bring a dresser into the house or whatever. And then we were just, chit chatting. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm out here building tree houses. Both your neighbors have a tree house. Like, do you want to go look at them?" We just literally walked, next door and like took them on these two pretty great projects, the two treehouse and the rope bridge.
Sure.
I'm like, you have a nice, live oak tree here, would you, be interested in doing something? And he was like, yeah, yeah, I'd be interested in doing something. And I mean, I remember those days I was so after, I think I stayed up all night that night. And I just like created three different proposals, like immediately.
Wow.
Had some
Yeah.
ideas at his doorstep by the next day, and he ended up building, this very cool structure. It's still one of my favorites. We call it the honey sphere, but it was a big geodesic sphere basically surrounding this whole like, relatively small live oak tree, and it has 220 openings. It's just like an open deck structure. But there's some videos online, some old YouTube videos of him like playing flamingo guitar on like that morning show or something, and
Wow. Are
that
they
was cool.
no, they all still there? The tree houses? They all still
Yeah, yeah, they're all still there in that neck of the woods. Yeah.
is so I was on your side on your homepage. You've got a statement on there. I think it might be your mission statement, but creating spaces that bridge the divide between humans and natural environment, one tree house at a time. So it's a powerful statement. What does that mean to you personally?
Yeah, well, I think that it's you know we're at a point where um uh, we're not going to turn the tide necessarily from an environmental perspective unless, people have, value and understand, the natural world. And, I grew up in a bubble where, that be like going camping and that kind of thing, running around in the woods was just like a natural part of my upbringing. But of course, everybody comes from different places and or maybe migrate away from that exposure to the natural world, which in the digital worlds that we live in, like is has become so common. And so like if we can create a connection back, especially for very influential people in the world, through really incredible architectural experiences, um that allows somebody the opportunity to have basically, hopefully an epiphany moment of some kind where, being up in a tree in the canopy, is really an amazing experience for many different reasons. And so, yeah, one treehouse at a time in that way, as we've been building these unique structures for people's backyards, has been how we've been doing it. And now, we launched a new brand called Tree Walkers, which is really trying to take what we've been doing and like, make it more accessible to more people, to hopefully influential people to like have, epiphany type experiences in the trees, and then take that back and hopefully start valuing the natural world and integrating into the decisions that they're making on a daily basis.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, when clients come to you, are they looking for luxury? I mean, or is it something deeper than that? Or when you're approached about a project, or someone reaches out to you, what
Yeah.
is it that they're looking for typically, or is it all over the map?
Yeah, I mean, clients are typically, it is a lot of the times like initially inspired through, children, giving them a space, but also, I think people understand these days that, um, it's not just about the kids, and that there's a value to, creating a kind of a sacred type of space or like a unique space in the backyard. And that kids, innately are drawn towards kind of playing out in nature and being up in the trees, that having, family types of experiences, with the kids, but also building a space that, provides, the wonders of this environment, for all sorts of activities. If you're, just officing back there and you just want to be up in the trees, and being in a relaxing environment while you're going after your work, or, meditating or doing yoga or whatever, a creative activity, it's kind of like this man cave or, a she shed kind of movement. And then we're just creating these things at a different level where they are like very sculpturally interesting with, a lot of glass and steel and interesting wood forms. So
Yeah, the projects on your website are incredible. I mean, they're not, we first talked, they're not the treehouse you think of as a kid, right? They
that's
are,
right. Yeah, they're not your grandma's treehouse.
yeah, these are luxury, top notch, beautiful tree houses that I can see be very rejuvenating, very peaceful to be hanging out up in the trees. You mentioned work. That would be a great place to have an office, or if to do some work, or
Yeah.
maybe recharge while you're working, or whatnot. But I'm curious about your team. I want to shift gears a little bit, talk a little bit about your team and culture. How big is your team currently?
We're about 40 people, I would say,
So
between field installers and admin.
so that is a nice size. That's a nice size team.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in culture. And when I look at your business, I know you don't build something this unique without a strong culture. So tell us what defines the O2 Treehouse culture.
Um, so, you know, we, we approach things from a very, you know, flexible and lifestyle kind of approach for our people. Um, you know, I'm just hesitating here in saying this because I know that some of these things are very nuanced and, as the company grows, some you can provide certain flexibility in some categories and not in others, just as a matter of SOPs and rhythms, etc. But I think that, our people have definitely enjoyed over the years, a certain amount of understanding around like, the things that happen in life, and the accommodations and are being reasonable around those things that come up. We want to make sure that we're creating an environment with people that are feeling fulfilled and satisfied. And of course, if like, things, start to cross the boundary we can't come to whatever that agreement might be, um, then, um, then we can usually work through that. But, yeah, I think people really enjoy that. And just, it's always been super important for me that people are, and our crew leaders are really, keeping an eye on the big picture that this is, let's have fun. We're building very cool, unique, amazing structures, and let's make sure that the feeling on site and in the shop and that kind of thing is one of, let's play, let's make jokes,
Yeah.
have you know you know chats, and like, like value the culture and the human connection that's taking place in the community that we've built. That's, through tree walkers and our trying to create this for more people and like creating a hospitality line. Like that's really what we're about with that too, is creating, human connection and community in an amazing natural environment. And so, yeah, hopefully we can continue to achieve that as we grow. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're building this incredible luxury tree house that's, something unique.
Yeah.
So let's give a great customer experience. Let's blow the client away. Let's give them more than what they're asking, but let's have fun. I think if I heard you right, let's
Yeah.
enjoy the process and smile and laugh and at the same time let's hit it out of the park. Um, I'm curious, what's harder, building a tree house or building the right team?
I would say definitely building the right team is harder.
I'm not in your business, but I would agree.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I mean, the lessons learned along the way in terms of, talent, hiring, um, the strategy surrounding that in terms of cash flow is very tricky. I mean, you're relying to a certain degree on luck of the draw in some cases, and I'm a firm believer that if you stick at it long enough, you just have a longer period to be lucky. And I think that served us in many ways in terms of getting the right talent on the team. Um, but shoot, yeah, it's tricky. What is a company? Just a conglomerate of people that have agreed to work together, and hopefully they can do good things together and have the right, skill and temperament. So
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things building business is people. It's also most important, right? I mean,
yeah,
you gotta have great people, but um, they're hard to find. And um, every time I hire or we hire, what ends up being the wrong person, it's a lot of times I can go back and whether it's me or manager, whoever's doing the hiring, but our gut told us all along they weren't the right one, right? But we
right.
sometimes you get that tunnel vision, or hey, we got to get someone now, and
That's right. Yeah, exactly. You gotta, it's hard to really judge yourself from the past because
yeah,
you made those decisions with the constraints that you had in the moment.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then so you make the hire, and then it doesn't work out. And you're like, God, my gut was telling me all along that wasn't the right move. But yeah, lessons learned. There's no playbook. I mean, there's a lot of
Right.
obviously great uh, resources out there on how to build a business, but until you're in it, it's just it's kind of like parenting, right? There's no there's no
I
playbook
know.
for parenting either. Dustin has some young children, so it's I guess a little inside joke we just talked about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about the growth strategy, right? So and before that, I'm just curious. So in the last 20 years, what's really been your main thing to fuel the growth that you've had in the past 20 years?
Um, I think looking back, I would give myself failing marks for our marketing in general. I think as I look back, I'm just like, how do we make it this far? Without really focusing and doing things properly in the marketing front. I think I had a bit of hubris in that department and thinking, like, "Oh, we don't need to market, these structures are marketing themselves," and that kind of thing, but, like, I could have been, maybe further along or had more growth prior if I would have, really studied that category. People would ask me along the way, like, "Oh, how are you" such a top question, "How are you marketing that?" And, I would say something like, "Oh, yeah, they're marketing themselves." And it's like, and you know, I it did allow us to continue, obviously, like just like word of mouth. And so I was really focused on like a great client experience and just like forming a good relationship and make sure that they were taken care of. Any sort of like repairs, like we would stand behind our work and all of that, like are critical. As far as like, first tenants of building a business. So we've enjoyed a lot of referrals over the years. And what was the initial question? Or you asking about marketing?
Well, just I was just asking, yeah, what's really fueled the growth? And
Field growth, yeah.
yeah, I mean, if I'm hearing you correctly, I mean, really referrals, right?
Referrals,
Has
yeah. Have
been
really
the main source of lead gen, which you do have a very unique product. I can see referrals being very big part of people coming in. Um,
and articles online. I mean,
yeah, well, you
because it is,
mentioned a blog, yeah, some blogs earlier that went
yeah,
out. Yeah,
we're doing eye candy type stuff,
yeah,
so they have a natural place. People want to put them in articles, so we've enjoyed a fair amount of that. Which has definitely been a critical part of our growth. But now, we're more focused on that, and I think we could still do a lot better. But we're really investing into that, and as the company grows, it's a true necessity. And it's great because we have now a pretty diverse portfolio of structures, and that haven't gotten a ton of you know um, eyes, I guess.
right. Does does a lead ever come in through the website where it's just they found you online or somehow and then versus I know you get referrals, but is there any kind of lead flow coming in digitally from the
Yeah, most
site?
definitely. I mean, our socials have always been really important. So I shouldn't say we've done zero marketing, we've done socials.
Yeah,
So socials are our first or second, lead generation. I think it's the first these days, and second is referrals. And then, organic web search, I think would probably be, fourth, somewhere fourth.
Yeah, I mean the digital footprint, because you never know who's searching or looking for you. Might see something. Like I said, I was aware of your industry just from the Discovery Channel and the gentleman on there that was building these
Right.
phenomenal structures up in the trees. So
Yeah.
someone could be watching that and just start searching, or they may go, nowadays Chat GPT. So there's definitely things that need to be done or can be done, within your site to not only track that organic traffic off of Google or even Bing, but also if it's done right properly on the site, it should transfer over to the AI
That's
as of
right.
now. I mean, everybody's
Yeah.
trying to figure out the Chat GPT model, but our
Yeah.
clients have been getting leads off Chat GPT.
What's that?
I said our clients have been getting leads and found off Chat GPT, and
Right.
that's I think because of we've always put a premium on content, so we do a lot of organic work, but um, we've always been believers in FAQs, which is another big driver with
Okay.
these AI, especially the Chat GPT. Chat GPT is the leader in the consumer, right? There's Grok, there's Perplexity, there's other AI channels or
Sure.
large language models, LLMs they call them. But yeah, and there's even proper schema markup which has just really been around forever. But I still think 80% of the sites don't have schema markup, which is really just code base. It's in the site that's telling Google what the site's about, right? There's
Yeah.
categories you can pick for that. And so they're also looking for that, the AIs, and then also just a very good reputation, right? So reviews are really important. They've always been important, but um, more important than ever because they're looking for that authoritative business. Speaking of like Chat GPT and things of like that. So
Okay. Yeah.
um, I can see the the referral base being huge, and I can see the social because you have a very visual product, right?
Right.
All right. So then, how does someone find you when they're searching, looking for because they stumble across this or seen something or magazine, whatever it may be. And man, I'd like to have that. Is there anybody, who can build that for me?
Yeah.
Who's out there?
Yeah,
Is
we were laughing because, now twice now, separate people were looking, just searching, something like Lord of the Rings or like fantasy treehouse, and, our structure, which we call the Rivendell, it's very like Lord of the Rings-esque, came up both times on these separate searches as a recommendation.
oh wow.
We're like, "Oh,
That
wow,
is
it's like it's working," you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, that is, and I mean, yeah, I think there's some really cool things you could do, not only with the assets that you have, but how that's marked up in the back end. And then especially like unique searches like that, people are still able to find you. When they're searching that, I mean, were they looking for Treehouse or were they just looking for something related to Lords of the Rings?
There was, I think it was like a fantasy. Yeah, I think it was mostly just specific to, like, fantasy. I think elven was the word that was used, like, fantasy elven treehouse, which is, you know, almost, I don't know, that's pretty tied to Lord of the Rings, I feel like the word elven, but, um, yeah.
Yeah, you never. The thing too is, I mean, there's obviously. I did a quick search, luxury treehouse builders or builder recently, just kind of seeing who came up in that category. And it's yeah, I mean, there's definitely some competition. How competitive is your market? This niche business model that you have.
Um, there's not a ton of folks out there, and, I think we might be evolving to be one of the bigger ones. Everybody, the industry at large is very collaborative, and, at the Treehouse Conference every year in Oregon, like, we really, um, freely share information and techniques, and, it's a wonderful community. In fact, I always make it up to the Treehouse Conference, and, those are some of my best buds up there who, share the struggle of the custom treehouse world. And
Sure.
yeah, but, there's another company, Artistry, who is actually right here in Sonoma County as well, ironically in Occidental. And I would say that they, are a company that is most like the work that we make, or we're most like the work that they make, in that it's like very modern sculptural tree houses. And yeah, they've been quite successful as well. And yeah, but otherwise, there's more and more companies coming up too, which is great to see. I mean, I would love if more and more people entered into the marketplace and just kind of helped continue our mission and put Treehouse's frontline. You know,
I think it's really inspiring that in your industry at this conference, everybody's willing to share ideas. I love talking to other digital marketing agencies, and I'm always happy to share with other agencies as well. Because I'm a big believer. There's so much business out there in our world that
right?
we can't handle it all.
Yeah,
So I think that's. I used to be involved in a conference. We'd go twice a year, and but yeah, you get to where you're going more so to see not only your friends, but to talk to those other business owners and share ideas versus it's really where a lot of the value comes versus maybe the content or the speakers, right?
right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah. And so I always enjoyed I look for hey, I'm gonna go see my buds. And then I can
nice.
also sit down and we can just be open and honest and really talk about our struggles and wins and so forth. So that's a refreshing to hear because you don't see that a lot with competitors, right? It's more rare than common. There's so many people are holding their cards so close to the vest, but
Yeah,
that is cool. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I love that. What has what's owning a business taught you about yourself, Dustin?
Wow, that's a tough question. Yeah. I would say it's taught me that, um, you know, that what my programming was growing up, and why is it that I have stuck with something like this for so long. Um, that has been, um, a lot of struggle, a lot of, you know, a lot of kind of difficult moments. Um, I think that, this like I got a lot of support and encouragement from my parents. That's been super valuable. And I was also, you know, like really to the extent to which, I kind of was almost like, believed that I meant to do something great, and I think that's really been a part of my, that pushed me through, is that to think bigger and think on the horizon and think in that way. And then also, like, from my college years, I had a particular professor there, Kinji Akagawa, who was continually trying to get me to focus and to focus in on a certain context of work and a certain, what was my meaning in the world, what was my intent, and what was my desired effect, and what did I, what conversation did I want to bring to the world. And so, those things, as part of kind of my early programming, I think are, you know um, why I think I stuck with it long enough. And I think that, those things that early program became very clear, as I would, go through difficult moments and like stick with it. I always joke that, like, oh, like how did I, build the business? I'm just like, I'm just stubborn as all get out. I just think, like it didn't matter, like, if I was, didn't have any money to buy food or gas in Los Angeles. I was like living in my van. Like, I only would take treehouse projects. And if a treehouse project didn't come forward, I would just really stubborn. And just like, I think that I wouldn't have done that without that senior person being like, you need to focus, you need to be pan-disciplinary in how
Yeah.
you understand and observe and reflect on the world, but then take that and focus into, what it is that you want to do here, and what kind of lasting impression and meaning do you want to impart through that, through your view of the world? And I think that's probably the most important thing that I learned at art school. You learn technical things about art, art history, all that kind of stuff, but ultimately it's like, all right, search and like, why are you doing the thing that you're doing? Know that
Sure.
more than
Yeah.
anything else, right? So,
Yeah. No, that's great to hear professors like that resonate with you, right? And you can still um be thankful, right, for that wisdom or that coaching or however you want to call it, right? But yeah,
right.
focus. It's like Dustin, focus, focus. Where do you see OT Treehouse headed in the next 5 to 10 years?
So growing out tree walkers is really critical to our phase approach. Um, I see tree walkers as a vehicle to which we can bring the treehouse idea, ethos, and connection with nature, to the world in a greater way. And so we're custom side what we're doing will continue to grow organically here. Tree walkers will provide this place where we hopefully can kind of replicate and scale this concept, which is basically an pre-engineered elevated platform system. Right now, we have the Tree Walker's tent that's associated with that, and line of products that can continue to kind of evolve and grow. But the reduction of costs through elevated truss based engineered platform system, I think, is a concept that will allow other structures to be applied to this, where we can create hospitality and long term work away type of opportunities through endangered forests throughout the world. And I can see a very clear path of how to scale that and to appeal towards a culture that's evolving in that direction. And from each camp that we build, we will be able to, just offer our custom services, basically using that as a showroom to catapult further ideas and integrations with nature in a sustainable way. And so, shoot, I mean, a critical tenet of that is that there's a local ownership kind of basis in ecotourism as we kind of create, hopefully, take these hospitality models and create them in, economies that to support economies so that they are not destroying the rainforest, but actually have a sustainable tourism model, in the trees, to sustain them. So that's a tricky part of that I haven't saw impact investing, that kind of thing. But that's our direction for sure. Wholeheartedly is to develop the Tree Walkers business.
Okay, I like that. I noticed you have an invest section on your own website too. Is that a franchise model or is that I'm or tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've been doing some online equity raises. We did one in 2021, and we just completed one through WeFunder. So it's very much related to our kind of community building, community approach. Um, The yeah, so that's from the online equity raise. Um, yeah, but we at this point we're not fundraising. I mean, technically you should as a business owner, you're always fundraising, but we're not in a formal raise right now, but we probably will be at some point this year again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a couple of what I like to say closing rapid fire questions, right?
Nice.
Yeah, just
Lightning
some
round.
lightning round. Um, I say lightning. It doesn't have to be a quick answer, but
Sure.
favorite project you've ever built?
Ooh, yeah, I guess it would be the pine cone treehouse that we did.
Pinecone.
Yeah, which is, yeah, the pine cone
Where was that
treehouse.
located?
That's in, Santa Cruz, California. 60 feet up in the trees, really high in redwood. It was always a dream to build some epic geodesic-based structure in the redwoods,
In the red.
and
Wow. Yeah,
that was
60 feet.
really the moment where that happened.
Wow. I hope you're not afraid of heights.
Well, I know, right? Yeah, so there's so many, like, not for the light of heart comments throughout the checkout process when you try and rent that one.
Ah, most unexpected location you built in.
Most unexpected location. Oh, that's interesting. Um, God, unexpected. That would have to be. I mean, I'm expecting to build in the forest and deep in the woods, so that's a lot of our projects that are difficult to reach.
Sure.
Um, Unexpected. Uh, Unexpected. Um, Shoot, I don't even know. I think.
Nothing jumps out at you as like, hey, we built this. That's kind of a wasn't expecting to build something there.
Yeah, in that kind of environment. Yeah, I would say, maybe building in a stilted structure in the desert.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
What about a dream location you haven't built in yet?
Dream location. Nice. Well, I think that's easy. I think, in a enormous deciduous tree in the jungle. We had a moment where we almost built a camp in Peru, outside of
Wow.
Iquitos, and did several trips down there. And the Lapuna, there's a Lapuna tree, which is one of the giant deciduous species down there. And, it was just like the being at the base of that tree, these giant buttresses, where it's like the buttresses are like 12 feet up, and, stare up there and then the setting sun, like towering way above the rest of the jungle canopy. And it's like the branches are like, 4-foot diameter just shooting across. I mean, like to build something at the top of one of those trees would be out of this world. I mean,
That does sound really cool. That sounds like a good dream location, or
yeah, one
for
day we'll
sure.
build something up there. One day, yeah.
Last question for you. And again, man, I appreciate you being on. I'm just curious. So if someone came to you, right, if you could go back, or if someone came to a young entrepreneur, right, wanted to get into something similar to what you're doing, what one piece of advice would you give them in starting a new business?
Oh, well, strike the balance between analysis and action. It's a yin and a yang, and you can't achieve progress forward without that balance. You need to take, a well enough studied concept and test it and try it on the world in whatever format that ends up manifesting itself in, and then learn from that, and then iterate again, basically. And because unless you're applying your idea and activating others within your ecosystem, and putting yourself on others agenda, then you're creating something in a bubble that's hidden, and it's not participating with the world. Like, kind of my beliefs, the universe is not like conspiring for you. And so if you're able to kind of the little fail forward technique, and iterate quickly, then other people are racing in front of you and getting more exposure. So
Hey, I like that too. Well, Dustin, man, it's been a fun conversation, so interesting too, and just a different business. I guess you don't
yeah.
run into, I like to say luxury tree houses because I want people to not think, hey, we're just talking about, your son tree house you built up, you helped your son build, or something to that. But um, for those our listeners out there, tell them how they can find O2 Treehouse if they would love to reach out to you.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, go to our website. O to letter O is always important. The letter O2 Treehouse, .com. You can go there and just, contact us there, or O2 underscore treehouse on Instagram is a great way to get in touch. And then, yeah, we'll be in touch immediately after you fill out a form. And we can have a conversation.
Well, Dustin, hey, thanks again so much for being on, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. And can't thank you enough.
Yeah, thanks so much, Todd. It's been fun. Appreciate it.
Thanks.